Unstable SMP has many characters, some popular and frequently feature in videos, but others have been missing for months. In this video I discuss about theories on what actually happened to these players. Now let's not waste any time and get straight into it. We're starting off with not just a single player but the whole team of Bat, the bounty assassin team. Bat was assembled after the destruction of the Mafia in season 1. So let's look at all of the members. First of all, Newfleet was killed by the director, also known as Wifies' arrow cannon. Parrot is currently doing side quests in Capital City with Theorise the bird, so that leaves jumperwho, leowook and Tarapchu. So you might be wondering what happened to all of them. Well, that also links back to Wifies. Well, Wifies threatens to leak all of jumperwho's spies unless the Bat members work as guards in Paragon, the perfect Minecraft prison used to hold Parrot captive. Now Wifies low-key blew up, so it's safe to assume that Leo, Darap and Jumper just left the prison since there was no longer anything forcing them to stay there. Well, technically Jumper was fired by Wifies, but it's unknown whether it was just Jumper who got fired by Wifies or if it was all of the guards. You could assume that all of the other members got fired since you couldn't see them when Parrot left the prison and there wouldn't be any need for guards after Wifies took Parrot to the death trap to be there, but the only confirmed guard to be fired is Jumper. So that leads us on to our next question. Did Leo, Darapchu and Jumper continue back? Well, in one of Parrot's newest videos, the existence of Leo, Darap and Jumper are all confirmed in a letter that Parrot gets. Written by leowook, the letter states that Bat started fresh, which if I had to guess is likely referring to the reconstruction of a new base and potentially some new members. Anyway, so Bat are starting fresh and still have positive connections with Parrot. Anyways, next up we've got Unstable's most controversial player, this being Ashwag. Before we discuss our next player on the Unstable SMP, hi, I'm theorise. I post mini Minecraft documentaries just like the one you're watching now. So if that seems like something you'd be interested in, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an upload. I'm still a small creator, so even one sub would make a difference. Anyway, thank you for your time and back to the video. Now his last appearance was in Spoke's I spent 100 days hidden in a secret Minecraft based video. In this video, Spoke stalks Ashwag after the destruction of the Mafia. The Mafia of course being the army Ashwag ran that almost destroyed the entire server. Spoke ends up hiding in Ashwag's base called Point Nemo. Well, it's not just Ashwag's base, it's technically Ashwag and Squido's base, but we'll get more to that later. Anyways, Point Nemo is filled with secret rooms and treasures, with an entire room just filled with multiple diamond armor sets, and also in the same room there is an armorer villager, which may not seem too crazy, but considering how broke Unstable SMP is on resources, having an armorer is one of the most valuable things on the server. Oh, never mind, Spoke killed it. Anyway, to end off Spoke's video, Ashwag trades Redun's the dragon egg for 100 mending books after Spoke sabotaged their original trade. Now considering how controversial of a member Ashwag is and accounting for his wealth, him getting hunted down is honestly a likely scenario. But I feel like we would have heard of his death considering his impact on the server, meaning he's likely just chilling in Point Nemo and letting the dust settle after the Mafia war. If that's even possible at this point. And plus, having connections to Redun's via this trade, the actual richest player on the server, is definitely useful, making his death even less likely with this added support. Now this leads me on to the next member we're going to discuss in this video, Squido. After Ashwag kicked her out of Point Nemo, we haven't seen Squido. My guess is that after Ashwag traded the dragon egg to Redun's to suspend Point Nemo acting as collateral for the villager trade. Why was that such a complicated sentence, bro? This is a Minecraft server. And after Ash found out all of the weird things going on wasn't Squido, but was instead just Spoke, Squido would probably be invited back to Point Nemo, as Ash and Squido are actually dating in real life and in Unstable lore they're married. Anyways, this causes Squido to be Ashwag's most loyal partner, meaning wherever Ashwag is, Squido will be, so like I said, they're probably both just chilling in Point Nemo. God knows there's enough to keep them busy in that base. Our next forgotten member is Maine Pear, Unstable's most iconic forgotten member. Make sure to strap in because this is a long one. Now Maine Pear's last appearance was over 10 months ago in the video titled I Mastered Minecraft Combat. In this video, Maine trains wemmbu in Minecraft PvP. However, wemmbu leaves Maine to go rescue his teammate Eggchan as Maine Pear refuses to help him. Long story short, wemmbu sacrifices his mace to flamefrags to save Egg. Him and Egg return home and there's simply a sign saying lost cause, and we never see Maine Pear again. Now this sudden disappearance is odd for numerous reasons. For starters, Maine clearly has an interest in scripted content, which we can see from him uploading his own scripted videos outside of the Unstable SMP, and he's notorious for being really good at PvP, better than flamefrags, so why wouldn't he be a good threat to include in the videos? Honestly, there aren't a lot of answers to these questions other than Maine likely just doesn't want to be too involved with Unstable SMP, which is fair enough. Now Maine Pear said he died to a skeleton whilst AFK, but it isn't 100% clear if this is referring to his Lifesteal death or his Unstable Unstable SMP death. And even if he was talking about Unstable SMP, this death obviously wouldn't be canon. So for a satisfying canonical reason, we have to go back to the Lost Cause sign. Now this could mean many things. The more obvious connotations of this sign are that wemmbu is a lost cause. Wemmbu sort of betrayed Maine Pear by not giving him the mace and leaving him to fight Flame on his own. Maine is a very respected player and unstable, so little things like this can mean a lot to him. So wemmbu could be a lost cause in the sense that he's too far gone, or that he's just gonna die to flamefrags. But an interesting theory, which I haven't seen anyone talk about, is what if Maine Pear was talking about himself? He was the lost cause. Wemmbu at the time wasn't known as a particularly strong player, which I go over more in this video. Anyway, so maybe Maine Pear getting disobeyed by a weaker player and having seen his failed attempts to secure the mace from wemmbu lowered Maine's self-esteem, causing him to just run away. We know Maine Pear didn't return to his base after this since it got destroyed. So canonically there are many interesting reasons for Maine's disappearance, but realistically Maine just probably doesn't want to be that involved with Unstable SMP. But he's Maine Pear, so I'm sure we'll see an appearance from him eventually. Next up we have Serpentbound33. Now you may not recognize this username because Serpent isn't even a YouTuber. He was one of the first generation players. In case you don't know, the first generation are all of the players who live beyond the Farlands, and he's one of the free to survive. The last time we saw him, wemmbu used him to grant him all of his explosive powers using the orbital strike cannon, the same ones he used to take down flamefrags, securing his spot as the strongest player on the server. Now we know Serpent's still alive, so he's probably still in the Farlands. That's more or less confirmed when we see him punch wemmbu into the end portal, but I guarantee we'll see this player again, and this is how. Egg Translator spawned in the Farlands before sacrificing himself for wemmbu, meaning he currently can't leave the end as he'll end up all the way back there, surrounded by players who literally want him dead. So I assume this plotline is there, as we know Egg has exams as stated towards the start of season 2, so instead of him just not logging on, he now instead has a more canonical reason to not be in videos for a little bit. But they're gonna have to get Egg back in videos eventually. I mean, he's arguably more popular with the fans than the main four themselves. Now this potential plot shares similarities to the plotline in the season 1 episode by Parrot, I Built Minecraft's Safest Civilization, where they have to destroy Dean the Bean's enderpearl status from the mafia. Now we will get to Dean the Bean later, but let's stick with the first generation players. Wembu's looking pretty low on his explosive power, so maybe he'll make Serpent his bitch again to recoup his powers en route to destroying Egg's bed. Anyway, moving on to our next two players, we have Knittingly and Firestar 2008, the other two surviving first generation players. Well, let's start off with Knittingly. The last time we saw Knittingly, wemmbu had broken a lot of his armor and he was straight up just nosediving into the void. But he had an elytra, was holding enderpearls, and we didn't see his death message, so we can assume that he probably survived this. Now Firestar's situation didn't look as good, as he wasn't wearing an elytra and wasn't holding enderpearls, but once again we didn't see a death message, so it's safe to assume that he survived. However, the Farlands are very weird, so maybe death messages are just inconsistent there, but this is very unlikely. Anyway, so it's safe to assume we'll be seeing Serpentbound, Firestar and Knittingly pretty soon, but the same can't be said for this next player. That player being Dean the Bean. Now he's on this list because he's the only one out of the season 1 crew to have not been involved much in season 2. Now I don't mean involved in the sense that he hasn't been playing on the server, I mean he hasn't even really been mentioned. Obviously Wifies was involved a lot because of the director arc, but I don't even remember Dean being mentioned in season 2. Comment if I'm wrong. So for the people who didn't watch much of season 1, Dean was one of Parrot's best friends, most notable for being an ex-mafia member. Now this eventually acted as a double-edged sword, since Dean was able to give info which led to the destruction of the mafia, but he also caused the mafia to be able to continuously find him, Parrot and Wifies. So he gets kicked out of the group, rejoins the mafia, and gets killed because Parrot pops his totem, causing for his identity to be revealed, which goes against the rules of the mafia, meaning Dean had to be killed. Now Dean is dead, so there's really no speculation on what happened to him. However, Wifies quote unquote died, and we saw him in season 2, so maybe that could be the same with Dean, but I'm probably just coping. Now, for the most infamous forgotten Unstable SMP character, we have Giga Gamer 1. I think this was quite a unique concept, so if you want to see a sequel to this video, make sure to comment down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. In this video currently on screen, I talk about how Unstable is being ruined, so if that sounds interesting to you, make sure to give it a watch. See you all later. Goodbye.